We will call to order the Tuesday, March 15th Committee of the Whole meeting. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Gustafson.
Here.
Keen.
Here, and I can hear you.
Thank you. Malaco.
Here.
Betty.
Here.
Clock.
Here.
Done.
Here.
Thank you.
Approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the March 1st, 2022 Committee of the Whole meeting?
So moved.
Second. Motion by trustee Malaco, second by trustee Plot. Any discussion? Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Keen.
Yes.
Malaco.
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Petty.
No.
Gustafson.
Yes.
Clock.
Yes. Motion approved 5-1. Public comment. Anyone present wishes to speak to anything on the committee of the whole agenda? Joe, anyone online? We'll move into new business. Item 5.1, discussion and recommendation to the board for approval of registration and travel expenses for attendance at a force training instructor certification course in Arnold, Missouri by officers Ariana Kim and Caleb Brown. It's held May 23rd to the 27th and at a cost of $1,534.50 per attendee. Combined total would be $3,069.
I'd like to make a motion that we send to the board for approval, sending both officers to the force training instruction for the total cost of $3,069.
Motion by trustee Gustafson,
Second.
second by trustee Malaco. Any further discussion? Clerk, please. Oh, Mike, trustee Dunn.
Chief, can you just, for my own benefit, brief a little bit, what is this training? Big gun training for us?
They should.
Well, yeah, they could. So it's not your typical police training. It's boxing and different martial arts all put together for
Okay.
the police world.
So we're gonna let Crash do that?
Yeah,
Wow.
let Crash do that.
Cool.
And it's supposed to be more efficient and effective at countering an attack.
Thank you. And this is to train them as instructors.
They'll be instructors, so they can come back and train us.
Got to come back and whoop this guy.
Clerk, call the roll?
Gustafson.
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Clock.
Yes.
Petty.
Yes.
Malaco.
Yes.
Keen.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion approved 6-0. Side note, what more, Joe took advantage of, and I thank him for doing it. We expanded the consent agenda on this past agenda. And I think probably, the yardstick for that was a unanimous approval at committee, perhaps, but went into consent. Is that something that the board is comfortable as a practice moving forward, that unanimous approval at committee of the whole goes straight to a consent agenda, or it could be voted on in a block at board meetings?
Yes and no, if someone's absent or something.
Sure.
Can we leave it as we go type thing?
Yeah.
When we, just as we did tonight, when Mark grouped some things. It may be appropriate to do it sometimes,
Okay.
and other times it may not.
And please note, anyone can always pull something out of it. It doesn't even require a vote. If one of you objects, it's pulled out for a separate
But then we
vote.
still have to vote on
Correct.
Okay, thank you. That's clear enough. Item 5.2, discussion of a recommendation to the board for approval of a resolution declaring surplus and authorizing for sale and auction a 1976 John Deere road grader. I think in your packet, you have Troy's request and some photos of it. I believe it is. I don't think we've used it in a while. I'm not sure the tires even work on it anymore.
I'd like to make a motion that we send to the board declaring surplus and advertising a vintage John Deere road grader at auction.
it. It actually looked really nice out there. We took the tires off and blasted it, painted it. It's actually pretty cool.
I heard a motion, there's a motion by trustee Gustafson. I heard a second from trustee
Second.
Key over the
Yes.
speakers. Vintage.
Vintage.
Remember that, Troy, vintage. Any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Malaco.
Yes.
Clock.
Yes.
Petty.
Yes.
Gustafson.
Yes.
Keen.
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Thank you. Motion approved 6-0. Discussion and recommendation of the board for approval of a resolution declaring surplus and authorizing for disposal, likely as scrap metal, miscellaneous items from public works storage yard. This includes inoperable baseball field lighting, damaged and unusable metal shelving, and unusable metal fencing materials. Translation, a lot of junk that's accumulated back there. It needs to be moved, should be moved anyway. It needs to be moved for the expansion of the public works facility, and we'll likely just scrap it. Is that a motion, trustee Dunn?
Yes, so moved. Get rid of the
Second. Motion by trustee Dunn, second by trustee Plot. Any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Clock,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Eddie,
Yes.
Gustafson.
Yes.
Okay, now something to talk about. 5.4, discussion and recommendation to the board for approval of an ordinance establishing a retail tobacco license to regulate the sale of tobacco products, alternative nicotine products, or electronic cigarettes to consumers within the corporate limits of the village of Roscoe. We've not done this before. I think we've talked about it. I think we've remember chats about it. I don't know formally at a meeting, but I think I've had conversations with individual trustees over the years about it. It's being brought forward now, I'll tell you, at the request of the Winnebago County Health Department. They have recently completed conduction of a study with throughout RPS 205 and maybe other schools in the county as well. Where they feel there's a disturbing upward trend of procurement of smoking materials by minors. And they are of the opinion that licensure is a step towards better enforcement and regulation of sale of nicotine to minors. And have asked communities throughout the county to consider adopting a license. Rockford currently does it. Chesney Park just recently adopted it. South Beloit has one. It might be the only 3 in the county right now that have a tobacco license, but it sounds like others are now contemplating it based upon this request. So I put it forward to you for discussion and consideration.
I think it is specifically needed. These products are marketed to these individuals quite intensely. And as I look through this, I don't have any objection to any part of it. I see that the fee is left blank. So what would be a suggested fee that covers administrative costs and is kind of comparable to what goes on out there? $100
I
to
can tell you fees range from, I believe, I'm pretty sure it was just stated on a Zoom meeting, but I think Chesney Park is as low as $100 perhaps. I think the city of Rockford has a sliding scale. I think their initial application is upwards of $900 and renewals are cheaper after that. You just had me throw out a number, I would say $250 or $500.
And how many establishments in the village would this impact? How many vendors do we have of this stuff?
I've got to make sure to determine that. What jumps to mind is the gas stations and Walgreens. I don't know if Schnucks sells tobacco products or not. CVS does not.
We have a smoke shop in the same mall. with
Yeah.
Schnucks.
Yep, we have a tobacco shop in the Highlander Village Plaza.
Mhm.
Say right now, I would guess a dozen. And it would be handled much like a liquor license. It would, in fact, exactly the same way. We would have to adopt, you as the liquor commission would become a liquor and tobacco commission. And the liquor commissioner would also become a tobacco commissioner. License we applied for throughout the year and renewed annually, just like a liquor application.
Back to the sliding fee scale that some communities use. What is that based on? The volume of their sales or the size? How do they decide that some people will pay $900 and others will pay $200?
I don't want to answer incorrectly, so I'll look into it and we can try to make a more informed view of what other people are charging before you decide.
I guess for the purposes of our administration, I think one fee would be easier to administer.
I think so too. And I think much like we do with liquor licenses, perhaps there's an initial application fee. Then there's a license fee, and upon renewal, it's just the license fee.
I'd like to inject something if I may. if a owner has multiple facilities for the dispensing of tobacco, those fees, if they are set as individual businesses, might not be as impactive as far as that individual's regulation, because he's making more profit across a wider margin for his businesses. So, a sliding scale might be appropriate if they have multiple businesses.
We just license each individual outlet.
Each address.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if I owned two bars, would I be able to sell liquor in both of them with one liquor license?
No, they're tied to a specific address. Multiple locations, I would recommend, would require multiple licenses. There's two mobiles, each mobile, they would have to apply for that license at both locations.
What effect would this have? Is there any such thing as a grandfather? People have been selling cigarettes or this stuff for 20 years at this location, and now we're going to put something on them?
They still be allowed to sell tobacco. If you're asking, would they not have to get a license? I think that would defeat the purpose probably.
Agree, I just want.
That would apply to every single entity that sells tobacco right now. So I don't know. So as I look, I'm looking at a different table, I think, than I did previously, but if this is current and accurate, maybe it wasn't as much as a sliding or as just different fees at different times. There's a $938 non-refund, this is the City of Rockford tobacco license, a $938 non-refundable application fee. If approved, the initial fee is $1,323, and every annual renewal is $664.
Well, we don't want ours so low that people choose to set up shop here just as smoke shops. I don't want personally, I don't want to see Roscoe as smoke shop capital.
Well, it's free now, so.
Right, okay. So,
I'd like to see the application fee be like $100 and then $500 for a license, the actual license.
what's the application fee for the liquor license?
$500.
Why not parity here?
I think, I don't know the sales of tobacco bar versus alcohol, so I guess.
To be fair, there's probably more staff time involved in the preparation of assembling the liquor license application with all of the different things we require from them. And there are staff time involved in tracking that down, assembling it, packaging it for final presentation. There probably is truly more staff time involved in review of a liquor license application than there would be in a tobacco license.
But to be devil's advocate here, is not the goal to stem the sale of these, particularly directed at young people, so it's more costly to go into business. You might have fewer who do it.
To the wise souls of the dais.
Well, I would propose a $300 application fee and a, what did you say, Justin, $500 a year?
License fee.
License fee
Yep.
per address. You can always increase it.
Would this be something that's policed, like liquor sales? If
Yes.
they're selling to minors
Yeah,
and fines?
That's the whole point, you betcha.
They actually hire people to go in and do it.
Yep. And as this is coming up, we will add this to the responsibilities of the job description for the
You're a
new
little too old.
code enforcement officer.
it's neither here nor there. I've never smoked, but what does a package of cigarettes go for these?
I have no idea.
Been 10 years since I smoked, so I couldn't tell you. I would assume somewhere around $10 though,
$10 a pack.
somewhere around there.
It's right, I think it's around $10, but my dad comes here, he usually complains that he hasn't really so much.
Yeah, I would say
It's a lot
somewhere
cheaper in
around
North
close to that.
Carolina.
Yeah. Yeah, not exaggerating, it's pretty doggone close to it.
I would have guessed $3. Oh, no.
Or you got it very wrong.
There's a lot of tax.
It might be cheaper than marijuana shop.
I'm gonna,
So that's-
trustee Gustafson, can I take that as a motion to advance it?
One last, does that kind of put us in the middle? You had mentioned the other communities. Rockford is very expensive.
Trustee Parks, $100.
Okay,
Um,
all right, yes, I make a motion that the application fee be at $300 and the annual license, $500.
Correct. Well, okay, motion, trustee Gustafson, second, trustee Plotkin. Any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Dunn,
Yes.
Hetty,
Yes.
Flock,
Yes.
Gustafson,
Yes,
Keen,
yes,
Malaco.
Yes.
I also want to point out at the next meeting, there was another request made, and I just want to take a little more time fully understanding it. But there is another request being made that adopting ordinance relative to any smoking in public places at all. So potentially, and the request to the sample ordinance has many different scopes or ranges to its application and enforcement. So I want to read that a little more closely. But it would essentially be banning smoking on all public properties and perhaps even beyond that, public gatherings on private property. So if there's any range of how far we might consider going with such an ordinance, but I'll bring that up at the next committee.
Oh, I'd like to see the public comment on that one.
yeah, I want to add my 2 cents right now.
Imagine.
I don't like smoking.
Mhm.
However, I see something like that as a nightmare to try to enforce.
Mhm.
And so I just as soon not go there. The 15-foot rule or whatever exists, it's most of the time people comply with that. When those people don't, I just scowl at them.
Yeah.
Move.
I think what I'll do, if you don't mind, is I'll do a little precedent research. I know the Rockford Park District has this in effect right now. Coincidentally, I'm meeting with Jay Sandine tomorrow. I'll ask about if they do enforce it or how that enforcement mechanism works for smoking in public facilities. And I think city of Rockford just sort of defers to the Park District as kind of the keeper of their public spaces. So,
What I was getting at is, I mean, if you have a restaurant, and people go out 15, 20 feet or into the parking lot, for our police department to be called to enforce this.
well, but it probably would not stretch to individual private businesses. One version of this would be to ban smoking on any village-owned property, so within our parks, essentially.
Park.
So no smoking anywhere in Leland Park, no smoking anywhere in Riverside
I
Park.
could be on board with that.
Yeah. The next step beyond that is enforcing it at public gatherings. So if there's a parade, if there was,
For that one.
you know. It gets into, I think that gets into the weeds a little bit more. Anyway, just wanted to sort of give you a little sneak preview. I suppose that could have been said somewhere else, but I'm going to move on to 5.5, discussion and recommendation to the board for approval of soliciting bids for labor and materials for the Village of Roscoe 2022 Class D patching program. And again, a reminder, we budgeted $50,000. We appropriated $50,000 for Class D this year. So we'll put it out with the expectation or the indication that we will intend to award $50,000 worth of work.
So moved. Second.
Motion by trustee Plot, second by trustee Malaco. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Malaco,
Yes.
Flock,
Yes.
Keen,
yes,
Dunn,
Yes.
Gustafson,
Yes,
Hetty.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion approves 0. Old business?
I have a couple of things. First, when we embark on this build out of the Public Works facility, at the entrance where we have the chain link fence and all kinds of things are stored there, can we do something to camouflage
Landscape.
something
Sure.
appropriate?
Didn't we just start that conversation about potentially relocating or somehow modifying or revising the evidence storage area? Yeah, it just came up. I know that we were just talking about it for staff meeting.
Asking me to move some cars.
Joe, I think he said.
I seen him.
So part of the grand scheme,
Sure.
some kind of
Okay.
line, landscaping, whatever, just to clean it up and make it look
Privacy fence or something.
right.
Sure.
And
I
then,
know they sell inserts for chain link fencing, like they're just little black inserts that you just slide in too.
should we get some plantings? And then my other issue, where are we with the special events permit?
Well, absolutely. I was struggling to get it on this one. I only so much time in the day. I couldn't do it. It'll absolutely be on the next agenda.
Committee of the whole or?
Wherever you like to. We've discussed it a little bit of committee, so if you're comfortable advancing it directly to the board, I'll do that.
Perhaps because it will be spring and people will be
Agreed.
wanting to do garage sales and that kind
We'll
of
bring it to the board on the 5th.
stuff. Okay, thank you.
Do you have a time with State Line Mass Transit?
No, was anticipating that question and emailed Ms. Hecox today, but we have not connected yet. I will, since you brought up State Line Mass Transit, I'll let you know that Jim Blevins, whose insurance agency is just down the road here, has been proposed to us just today as a potential candidate for our open seat. You know, we have 2 appointees and just got that news today, so we'll get resume or some or a letter of interest from him and present it to this board for consideration to appoint him should you choose, but it's the only applicant, so far it's the only name that's been proposed from anyone. I think we all know Jim to be a very community committed
Level-headed.
citizen and think he'd be a great appointee. So as soon as I find out, and what, I might as well let everyone know what trustee Petty is referring to is that initiated by trustee Petty, we've made a request to the State Line Mass Transit District to offer free rides to veterans. And they've taken it to their board. The board is open to the idea. Per their bylaws, any fare adjustments require a public hearing, and there's a process to go through to adjust the fares. So they're open to the idea, and it's just a matter of working out the logistics and scheduling a public hearing.
And what about the list of COVID monies? I've been asking for a revised list. This one is dated November 2nd.
Okay, I addressed that at the last meeting, but I'll put on what,
You
there's
said,
no additional money from that list, but I'll let you know what we requested.
what I thought I heard is, okay, that list, November 2nd,
Correct.
is still current.
Correct,
That is money in the door.
correct,
That's 2.684 million.
correct,
But there are some grants still out there.
correct. Well, yes, funding requests, correct. We have not received those, but I will update it to show you what the requests have been.
I would appreciate it.
That-
And I think you know what drove me to continue to ask for this is our involvement with a possible war.
Oh,
I mean, federal dollars are going to dry up if they were promised and might be diverted to Ukraine,
yeah.
Ukraine situation. Okay.
I guess last, where are we with collecting the fines from Petrie?
I didn't ask it.
I did.
$5,000.
Where is it?
We don't have it yet. I'll reach out. Right now, all there was a verbal commitment to pay. I'll make sure we get that paid before the next meeting. $5,200.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Can you
Second.
make sure there's no public comment?
Public comment.
Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. Look, Mike's gonna screw up your motion to adjourn. Come on. Through.
Again, Mike, Wright, please. I just want to apologize to all you folks. That was not our group. We did everything we could to stop that, and I know, you know, it's just not the forum to hold like that personally. So I thought I'd stick around and just apologize to you folks. It's personally, it's uncalled for. That's just my opinion, but I wanted to say that's not part of our whatever you want to call us, contingent group, club, whatever y'all want to call it. That wasn't our,
You mean the foghorn or what?
we tried everything we could. We heard there was something that was going to happen. We tried everything we could in our power to stop that. I just want to apologize. I felt the need to apologize for that. That's all.
Thank you, Mike.
It's wrong.
Appreciate that. Thank you. I'll go back to Mr. Trustee Dunn's motion to adjourn.
You did say it out loud, didn't you, Mike?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion fails for lack of a second. Okay. Second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Keen,
Yes.
Clock,
Yes.
Gustafson,
Yes.
Petty,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you.